of my silky friends. Let me turn your comments on. And before we get started, like, look, y'all know it's Alabama, it's hot. I've got a fan blowing. So give me a heads up. Do I need to turn it off? Because I don't want any interference um, with the sound. So, hello, Professor Pug. Just Deb, Polygraph, Tom Moore. I don't think I've seen you. Welcome, Tom. I don't think I've ever said that. Jinxie, Kelt. All right. Kelt, you're so funny. Hit like or no 4th of July hot dogs for you. That's right. Please, everybody, hit the like. I might say that. All right. So it sounds good. Okay, good, good. Oh my gosh. Hello, Indy Pam. And look, I know it is a holiday weekend. I know everybody's busy and you're doing stuff, and that's okay. That is okie dokie. Catch it on the replay. I'm super excited about tonight, about having Coach Kev on. He was nice enough to accept my invite, and so we're going to get to know him. If you don't know Coach Kev, I'm going to say this now at the beginning. Jinx, do you have a link for him? If you do, throw up a so they can subscribe. Hello, Shane. I'm going to be throwing some of this up here, and let me just there's what do y'all think about? Let me just ask you. Tom says, I've watched all your videos. Oh, wow. Thank you, Tom. Awesome. What do y'all think about? I'm thinking about doing a show of just like live call-ins or live open panel. Any of y'all, do you think any of you would jump up here with me? Let me know. Put a comment in, because that's kind of the plan. It sounded like a fun thing to do. Hopefully, y'all know how it is when I go live. Hopefully, we won't have any major disasters, but it's me, so there's that. Okay, let me move my light just a little bit because I can't see. All right, let's welcome Coach Kev. Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Make sure before we get started, Cal Silky Southern Tea. If you need a goofball that knows her serial killers, I'm your gal. Icebox, hello. Cal, you're hysterical. If you are having any, Coach Kev, say something to them.
Everybody hear me okay? It's not because I don't talk loud enough. It would be a technical issue.
Because this time it seemed like everything worked. The link worked for him beforehand, and I'm pretty excited that it's actually working. I do have some storms in my area, so hopefully we're not going to get all hopefully we're not going to get all crazy and poppy like we did the first time that Tony Garner was on. All right, hello Hoosier. All right, so there's so much to talk about, but let me just say this. And I know probably everybody that's in here right now knows about Flora, but I'm going to go over it, briefly again, the story for anybody who watches either live or on the replay that does not know, okay? But first, let's talk to Coach Kev. Tell us about you. Who are you, Coach Kev?
Well, I am a firefighter. I'm still active, and it's a town called McKeesport, Pennsylvania. We're about 15 miles east of Pittsburgh. I'll get all the Pittsburgh weather. I've been a fireman now for about a little over 22 years. I'm in my 22nd year. In a town of about 20,000 people, we run about 1,600 calls a year and probably 40 to 60 house fires a year. That's a lot. We hardly run any medical calls, so it's all house fires, car wrecks. Our demographics skew pretty poor. But there's still a lot of good people here. I'm the president of our union right now. We kind of needed somebody, so I did it. And we get an opportunity to work with the public and help kids. I used to coach. I was a former coach of the high school basketball team. I've coached basketball and baseball for like 14 years at the youth level, high school. I still coach in the summer league. And I came into the true crime, like reading up on the old serial killers, Ted Bundy, Gary Ridgway. And I got into unsolved cases, and the algorithm brought me to Delphi. And then from Delphi, like Flora just kind of came to me one day, and I was like, wow, and people started asking me questions and was able to answer so much. And then I saw the video and was able to answer more. And, I'm sure we'll talk about that, but then it kind of became a passion for me because I could tell that something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong with Flora. I think something's wrong in Delphi, but I'm not sure. I know something's wrong with Flora. I can tell you that definitively in my heart. So hopefully, if people don't know about this, we can spread the word and inform them and make them think. So I'm very happy to be here and to meet all your subscribers and all your peeps here.
Yeah, I have a great crowd. I really do. They are the best. And so, I mean, what can I say? They're everything. Hello, Frank Meister. Let me get that back up there.
Hey, Frank the Tank.
There we go. Yeah, so I'm super excited. I love it when other creators come in. And Frank, I was saying, if you didn't see or didn't hear that yet, I'm going to have an open panel night. So anybody, look, any creator, we don't have to. Let me just say this right now: we don't have to agree. We just have to be polite. Um, Anybody who wants to come on live with me, uh, email me silkyandSouthern@gmail, and I will be glad to set up something for you. Okay, we can have a good fist fight. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that. Not online. Catch me outside.
There you go.
No, seriously. But because we're talking about all kind of stuff, and Delphi always comes up. That's, I think, how everybody, Coach Kev, finds out about Flora, and I hate that because Flora deserves way more attention. But everybody, including myself, come on from Delphi because you start reading comments and you start hearing stuff, and you're like, what's this about two other girls? What's this about the
Yeah.
Flora Fire? And then down the rabbit hole you go.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so let me ask you real quick, just because it's been a big, big week for Delphi, is there anything in the document drop that either surprised you or that you learned?
Yeah, there was probably two things that I would say, and remember, I'm not in any way, shape, or form a profiler. I'm like 20-degree amateur. So in 20 years, I maybe could be half a profiler, but I'm very into this criminal psychology and everything like that. So when I read stuff like that, I'm not like a technical guy to see this is wrong and that's wrong. When I see stuff like that, it was kind of like, whoa, 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 that's kind of odd. Everyone talks about the cell phones, right? There's 13 cell phones. Correct. I think it was 13. But 2 cell phones were kept in a woven wicker basket wrapped in paper, and those were Motorola flip phones. And those were in what I would call, or a profiler would say, maybe a place of prominence in between his closet and his bedroom or something like that. So it was kept in his bedroom, it was kept in a sacred area. I'd love to know what's on those phones. And the other big thing is, and I guessed at this, I have no inside sources at Delphi whatsoever. I don't even have any at Flora yet, but I don't have any. But the judge's order to seal all this information, and if you read what it says, they can only make one copy of defense, only the defendant, the attorneys. There's only like 6 people that can view this information, and this is a total guess to me, but I think that there might be CSAM on those phones, and that's why this order is written. There's 15 steps in it, written the way it is, that no one can see this evidence unless they are absolutely have to see it. And it's the one. It's 81.01 kilobytes. If you, I didn't know how to. I think that's the easiest way to tell you. But if you look at the document, that's the size of it. It's 2 pages long. It lists 15 things. Now, there's other creators that have said after that their sources say that they found CSAM on some kind of phones there. Unsubstantiated, but other creators are reporting from their sources. I have no sources. I guessed that. But to me, those would be the 2 big things that jumped out. to me. I read a lot through it, but those were the two like, whoa, like, wait a minute. Let's go back here and look at this. And even the way they let them out, though, they let names out, then they redacted them. It's like, just don't screw up. Just don't screw this up. Prosecutor, police, just don't. That's all.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Coach Kev, I go back and forth, and I've said this from the beginning. I was just, kind of like you. I was just wanting to do. I actually was doing vintage crime, not even the most popular cases. And I went down the
Like
Delphi.
Black Dahlia, stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
and even older than that.
Oh,
Like we're
okay.
talking 1800s. There are
Jack the
some,
Ripper.
yeah, and there are, yeah. Oh, I love that one. Um,
That's
there are
cool.
there are so many fascinating stories. However, I don't know. People just don't want to hear them, and I'm like, man, you need to check this out because some of these are better than the new ones. But yeah, I went down the Delphi rabbit hole, and I had followed the case for years, but with the narrative, and I did something that I always tell my subscribers: go on other people's channels, watch their videos, but more important than that, read those comments,
Oh yeah.
because there are people that are local that know stuff that make comments. So I started reading the comments, and I'm like, what? And then here's the thing: I don't know whether Richard Allen is guilty. To me, there's nothing that we've seen so far that suggests that he fits the profile. However, doesn't mean he's not. I think the my problem is that I believe that there are several other people involved, and I don't want to see him go down by himself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The thing interesting about the profile, and I've never been, I don't, as far as I know, was never released an official FBI profile of the killer prior to Allen. And I can't think of another case where that's ever happened. Like they make the profile for the police, but also
Mm-hmm.
for the public. And like, so right there, there's so many things that are odd about Delphi. That's why when people say, I got this theory, I don't wash anything off. Let's hear what you have to say. What's your evidence or whatever? Because this is such a crazy case that I don't think you can rule anything out. I really don't. And it's,
Yeah.
it's sad. And what took so long to get to him? And you're hearing like, oh, this and that. And it's, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it's beyond bizarre. Yeah. It's
Um,
frustrating.
Yes, it is. Let me say this before we continue with Delphi. I've got this up here. Jinx said there are 4 days left for T-shirts, and that is to benefit the Flora Fire to help raise money to get headstones for the girls. We'll get into that, but like, just keep that. If you don't know about Flora, keep that in the back of your mind, and I'm sure Jinxie will let us see a whole lot more links when we get into
Yeah.
that. Um, now, the profiles that I have seen on Richard Allen, and I couldn't even tell you. I know it wasn't from ISP, but I think it was just from general profiles of similar cases. They said things like, well, he would have a prior record. He would have made a drastic change of appearance, probably moved out of the area, these kind of things. And I think my second video on Delphi, I was still really, really on the narrative, and I
Mm-hmm.
started looking at the information on the profile, and you know what? I was like, Wait a second, this guy doesn't really fit that profile." And that, along with comments, just made me start digging more. So it is. Let me just say, all of this disclaimer: we now we have the documents, so we know what those facts are, but this is all theory and speculation, okay? So don't try to
Yeah.
sue us. We're going to give you our opinions, and that is legal for right
Mm-hmm.
now. We'll
And like
see.
you said, as long as everyone's respectful with their argument, even like I do it all the time. People, oh, I disagree with that. Well, tell me why, and make me think. And like I use that part of the investigative method where you have a theory, you try to prove it wrong. I certainly didn't have Richard Allen. I had two persons of interest, and I look like I'm so far off. I wasn't even in the same country. as as this. But okay, but I'm sure you follow the evidence and this and that, and this is what you think. But I think it'll be important to hear the confessions, what was actually said. What was actually said. Maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't on the telephone, but what was actually said, how was it said? But we
Yeah.
don't know that. So
Right. And I work in a jail. So I'm very used to inmates and criminals in general. So, I take a lot of issue with jailhouse confessions. So, yeah, I want to see the transcript. I want to see the
yeah.
context. I really do because, you know, and mental health issues. I would say just in general, I at least 50% of the inmates in our jail, I would, if they were all going to be diagnosed, I would say they have some form of mental illness. Now that could just be depression, but most people have some kind of chemical imbalance or something going on, or PTSD,
Yeah.
trauma that makes them do things that maybe they wouldn't if they were healthy. So, you know, but you
Yeah.
don't want to get me started on the lack of mental health in our
Oh,
country.
I'm with you there. Well, I'm just got into it. Well, I got diagnosed myself September 2019 PTSD. Pennsylvania is a state where you could have your marijuana card. We have in our contract in the fire department that we're allowed to have our weed cards because of PTSD, aches and pains, and other things too. So I'm a big advocate for that. We might have a strand of weed named after our fire department coming up, and I know some people feel different ways about it, but
Hmm.
the firefighters, the union, our international, they've taken a huge leap in mental health overall to check on how do you check on your comrades? How do you check on your friends? So we pushed mental health huge in the fire department now. So I hope you're happy to at least hear that. The jails, yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah, and I mean, I know, here I'm in Alabama. We have, I think they passed medical marijuana, but we don't. We're a pretty close state. CBD is everywhere, and there are blends that are legal
Mhm.
of THC. I don't really understand why some are and some aren't, but I just want to tell you. I mean, you know, in my opinion, dosed correctly, okay, and not just free out here doing whatever, I feel like that perhaps, I'm going to be careful saying this because of YouTube's guidelines, perhaps there is a better natural alternative to some of the pills that people take. Wink, wink.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's just not, there's creams and there's stuff like I have arthritis. I put the creams on it. Like it's
Hmm.
unbelievable. Like you don't even need Tylenol anymore. But again, it
Yeah.
can't be the Wild West. I agree with you. It can't be the Wild West. And for the government that always cries poor, hey, make a buck or two. Here you go.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Ta-da!
Exactly, because it can't be owned because it's natural. So that you can't have a patent on it. For those
Yeah,
that don't understand why big pharma is fighting it so much, because they cannot patent it. They can't have an exclusive right to it.
yeah,
So, they want to sell you the pills that they've invested millions of dollars in research and development. And so there you go. It's a
yeah.
racket. I've been a nurse for a very, very long time.
Oh, good.
And I've always said from day one when I was in doing my clinicals in the hospital, hey, you know what, this medical field thing is a racket, you know, but with the pharmacies. But that is my
Yeah.
opinion. You've got a question here, Coach Kev, from Linda K. Johnson. Uh, can you say it?
At least 2 or 3 days, except the hours. Theory of absolutely no social media. Is that 2 or 3 days before? Is that what she's saying?
Yeah, she said there were like three.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I'm assuming what she's saying is true because I know Linda there. Yeah, for a girl that age, I would say that it's absolutely bizarre. I don't know. There was talk of a phone reset not long before. I don't know if that's official now. That someone she reset her phone for some reason. I'm sure if everyone's aware of that or not. Or I took that as
Yeah.
a fact. Is there any way that the phone reset screwed something up that she couldn't use it for a couple of days? But I can't imagine a girl that age not post it on social media. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I've actually heard
I
that
didn't hear
from
that before. I learned something here tonight. That's very interesting.
yeah, and Kel, that's I think that's been I've heard that from multiple sources actually. Um,
Yeah.
and I guess that would be easy to check with her. I don't know what she was on, probably I know Snapchat, but Instagram, maybe Facebook, you know,
Yeah.
and I think it was I don't even know, was Musically, it was the predecessor to TikTok, but maybe Musically back then. But yeah, I've heard that from several sources that she was not on social media. I know my daughter, even at her age now, which she's a little bit older, but yeah, she doesn't. I mean, Twitter, like she doesn't go one day. I don't even know if she goes an hour without posting on something somewhere.
I would think
So
that somebody at her age would probably text her, "Hey, I haven't seen you on Instagram. Are you okay?" or something, or to that effect. But I don't know. I don't know. There's so many things that are just, you, I don't know if we'll ever get an answer. They're bizarre. They're beyond bizarre. Maybe they're coincidences, some of them, but there's just so many things in Delphi that's beyond bizarre. I think that's what sucks everybody into it. Because if you start telling people, they're like, "That can't be true. That can't be true," and then they look and they're like, "Oh, it is true."
yeah. Okay, is Grismatically Clever in here?
He might
Hey,
be.
hey, Grizz.
He makes some good stuff. He always is funny too.
He is. Yeah,
Yeah.
Grizz. If you ever want to come on live with me, you go right ahead
Yeah, he's good.
and hit
He's
me up.
entertaining. He's definitely fun. He'd be a good guest.
Yeah, he is. He's a lot of fun, and he
Mhm.
thinks. What I love about Grizz is he really thinks outside the box. I
Yeah.
mean, I like to think that I'm outside the box, but like he's you know even further
Yeah.
than I am, and that's cool. I'm like, oh wow, let me
He
hear
makes really
this.
cool videos too, like with different dance music, and it's I don't know how he does it, but it's pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Let's see, Jinx. Uh, yeah, I've had two people on here say it's been something that was talked about that Libby was not using social media the days prior to the unalivings. Carrie said Libby Snapchatted her on. Yeah, she did. She did say that she Snapchatted her that morning. But prior to that, apparently she was not.
Hmm.
Uh,
And I wonder if that was her normal means of communication. It could be because mom was a little bit estranged, but you would think
yeah,
daughter would just text mom. You know what I mean? But I don't. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it's well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
My I guess it
Kids,
depends on what you start with. My kids have always wanted me to. My friends send me snaps all the time, and I don't see it for until it's already expired because I've got a Snapchat. I never get on Snapchat, not really ever.
give me
Um,
1 second here. I'm gonna plug my computer, and I just have to move something real fast.
that's
And
okay. I'm gonna check mine.
good. I had it all set up because I knew I was going to have to do it eventually because I came on a little bit early. But we'll be good in 1 second here.
Mine has been overheating, y'all. I'm just telling my cord. So if you see me duck down, I'm checking the temperature of my plug-in. I don't know what's going on with this, but yeah, we're gonna be uh, talking a lot about Flora tonight. Let's see what did we see here. Kelt says believe Kelsey is on videotape saying she was on Liberty's social media because she knew the passwords. Yes, she did. Uh, she did say she was erasing stuff. I've heard that interview. I certainly have. And I don't understand why that was allowed, but uh, okay, Digital says this because I've wondered. I think her communication with Carrie had no visual. I don't think Carrie could see her. Is that correct? I don't know. Can somebody tell me that? Because that was one of the things, there's a lot of theories going on about different stuff. And Carrie said she got I thought she meant a call. I didn't know, but she got some form of communication the morning of the 13th, she says, from Libby that was like, "Good morning, beautiful." So, can anybody verify what form that was? Was it, uh,
Yeah. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I haven't either.
That's
Kelly,
where your
hello,
local
Kelly.
people help you out at. Like you said, your local people could find stuff like that out.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. It's kind of dangerous. It's dangerous as a creator to talk about Delphi and not get threats from wherever. But it is, I'm sure, way worse when you are living in that area. So yeah, I've
Oh
had a lot
yeah,
of messages from people that say I can't, they'll share information with me and like I can't say this. I live here.
yeah.
Um,
They're definitely afraid for sure, for sure.
yeah, yeah. Um, I'm trying to see if anybody says, yeah, and the geocaching. We know that Libby and Kelsey went geocaching. I reckon Liberty recorded something, then the phone got reset. Yeah, I don't know, but I've always said this. Why? Why did law enforcement? Because she has said that she was on, she could log into Libby's accounts, and she did delete stuff. That was just not important. No, you should not be allowed to touch their stuff. But this has been, what is the acronym FUBAR?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. From the beginning, and it
I mean,
has.
even if Kelsey was like deleting stuff that maybe she didn't want Libby to get in trouble or something, maybe she shouldn't have had something, or just it could have been anything, or
It
some
could have been,
secret
yeah.
account. And then as long as she was, I don't know, she told the police, this is what I deleted, this is why I deleted it. They didn't seem super concerned about it, but it is one of them other things that like that's bizarre. And they could have easily explained that if they wanted to. The police can be like, well, she had some weird stuff on there. She wanted her parents to see or whatever, and then that was it. It had nothing to do with the case, and they could have said that and put it all to rest, but they never did. So should they have, or maybe I don't know. I don't think anyone in the family is really involved, and I know why law enforcement has to look at them first, but there's things that are just a little bit bizarre. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
But just to throw this out here, and it is just what it is, okay? Nobody, according to Doug Carter, has been cleared. You would think that he would say somebody has been cleared, but he has made that statement, I believe, more than once. The
Yeah,
last time he made it was, I want to tell you, it was when Richard Allen was arrested. I could be wrong about
yeah.
that, but
I think it was at the press conference, and someone was interviewing him afterwards. If that was where it was, it was a female reporter. I can't remember who she was. And then she said something, and he was like, "No one's been cleared."
yeah,
No, and then she asked like a more important, like a more direct question, and he said, "No one's been cleared."
right,
So that
right.
at the latest, he hasn't said covered for years. I don't think when he said they've been covered, he has. He just said now at that point after that, no one's been cleared. No one's been cleared. So that's
Yeah, you know but it doesn't, even at that, it doesn't mean that they're looking at the family. I mean, it could, but it was just a little odd to me.
yeah.
Hello, Cop Facts.
Hey, I'm a fan of Cop Facts. I shared his
So am
video
I.
whenever he put that the video with the picture and questioning it. And I don't know enough about photography. My eyes aren't good enough. Dude, my eyesight's like 80 over 100. So I'm surprised my glasses aren't super thick. But when he said that, I shared it and I said, "Oh snap, Perry's back," because he was off for a while and he's taking a beating for it. But I'll tell you what, I think it was brave of him to do it. To take a step out like that, and he spoke how he believed, and I appreciate everyone that does that, even if they totally disagree with me. Like they have some passion that means a lot to me, and if they're willing to take a step out and be respectful with it, so my hat's off to you, Perry. I like
Yeah.
his taste in music too.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, if you ever, just throwing it out there, if you ever want to come and tell your life story, I would love to hear it. If you want to ever come
Yeah,
on here and talk about yourself, I'm sure you'd have a lot of people who wanted to hear that story.
I'd
Um,
be one of them.
oh, yeah,
I'd
me
love to hear
too.
that story.
Um, okay, let's see. Let's go back to what Kelly says. But the phone was found on the 14th, not the 13th. Yeah, yeah. that
Well,
was
she had her login, so I assumed that she was going through and deleting messages to anything she could have
yeah,
logged into, like apps, as opposed to like text. But that's my assumption only. Only.
yeah, that's my assumption as well. However,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Delphi, so
Anything, anything's possible. I mean, that's yeah. I don't.
you know what, I don't know if you've ever watched the show Stranger Things, but honestly, if that whole thing took a place in Delphi, it wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me. I think it's actually supposed to be Hawkins. I think Hawkins is the actual place that supposedly is in Indiana. Like it's supposed to be in Indiana. Um,
Oh wow. Okay.
Actually, Hawkins is in Georgia, and my daughter and I made a trip back in April. I think it was the end of April. We went all through Atlanta, and we went to the actual town of Hawkins, which I cannot remember the name of it. Cute little town. We went all over the place. So yeah, it is a really cool trip.
I don't. My girlfriend's daughter's into it. I've never watched it, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's different for
I know
sure.
what you're. I'm familiar with what it is, but yeah, I just
Okay. Icebox says, I agree, Coach Kev. That was weird. Didn't they also go to Anna's while she was at work and take Abby's devices too?
Well, they said Abby didn't, or they said Abby didn't have a phone. Uh, I don't know if that's official or not. That's been like the narrative, but I'm sure she's probably had iPads or other things too. Uh, I always had a theory, like from like the profiling angle, and again, we don't know anything. We've never seen a crime scene or anything like that. But the way that the crime scene is, like the narrative that people have talked about, one's treated one way and one's treated another way. To me, the one that's treated the other way, that's you want to talk about posed. The thing said stage, but posed in a certain way with a hood up in a like a show of respect, and then the other one was in a totally different condition. If those things are true, like I believe that they are, and a lot of people believe they are, then to me the object of this was not Libby, it was Abby. But we don't know any of this for sure because
Right.
it was like you were in the way of me achieving this over here. So that's why I treated you the way I treated you, and I treated this one over here this way. And that's just the theory from a very amateur wannabe profiler. But
I
let's see.
know.
But again, we don't know, and it's so hard because you don't, like, the people to do this stuff for real. They see all this, they look at all this, they have all the information.
Hmm.
So we try to guess, but like they don't give us information. So what do you think people were going to do? I think there's so many things in Delphi. The police could have rumors and innuendo, this and that. Could, nope, and they could have ended it right away, and it just got worse. And then they get pissed off at the YouTube community, like, why are you doing this? Well, like, all these people are just trying to help. They might be wrong, but they're
Right.
just trying to help. That's all. They have passion, and you can't fault them for that. I'd never do.
No, I mean, I don't either. And I mean, I think maybe if they had shared a little bit more information in the beginning, whatever they could, it's just been so secretive.
Yeah.
That to me is always sus, especially when you have things that normally come out in a case, documents that the public
Yes. Yes.
normally sees, and then you're hiding all this and you're saying, oh well, it's because of the investigation. Well, everybody else has an investigation too. But I think that probably did was the worst PR they could have gotten, is the way they handled this. But that's
Yeah.
just my opinion.
Well, Flora was a similar thing too, with like stuff that usually gets released that doesn't. But even in Delphi, like, why don't you give more of a description of the vehicle, or like, don't you want people to, and then there's more video, and I don't know what's on the video. Why wouldn't they show it? There's a closer up or whatever, and like you don't release the FBI profile. You're asking for help from the public, but like just give us what you can give us. You could give us more than this. And then a lot of the stuff that they have that was covered up, or that was covered in the court that they released, a lot of it was like, what was this sealed for? Like, we already knew this. Like, there was different things in there, but a lot of it was like, so it's just like, I don't know. We just seal everything and then hope the judge sorts it out, or is that seems to be the tactic here? I don't know. I don't want to be talk crap on but it's odd. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. uh, that's the thing. Anytime that people are secretive, you assume that there's a nefarious reason that they're being that way. Sometimes it's not, but and there's just too many wonky things with Delphi.
Yeah, it is. It's so bizarre. I just read you were reading Darren's comment. So Atlanta child killings. I'm a huge John Douglas fan, and like John Douglas doesn't have to tell you this, but Atlanta child killings, where I don't know how many ended up being 40 or 50 kids went missing, and I don't know how many bodies that they recovered. And the guy that they arrested, whose name, believe it or not, eludes me at this point, he had a three names like assassin.
Wasn't it
Wayne,
Wayne
Wayne,
Williams?
Wayne Williams.
Wayne
He was
Williams,
only
yeah.
charged for a couple murders, and I don't even think he was charged for any child murders. He was charged for adults, but was supposedly they laid the rest on him. And John Douglas was like, "There's no way." He thought it was a offender was African American because he would not been able to approach kids in those communities. But he said, "There's no way it was just this guy did all this." And then they closed the case after that. You're getting ready to open an airport, but I'm really into that. I'll have to check out Darren there. But on his thing there with the lone wolf, I never thought it was, but I could be honest, I'm starting to lean that way. And the more and more people that I respect from the profiling communities, Pat Brown's, John Kelly's, Pat Brown, the profiler, not the Delphi resident. She's a woman, not a man. She's really cool. They say kind of like lone wolf all along, just the way that the activity is supposed to be was set up at the scene. That you don't do this with other people was what they said in their experience. But I don't know. They know a lot more than me, but it's hard for me to believe that it's just him, though. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have some kind of something,
Yeah. I
some kind
mean,
of link.
yeah, the unaliving supposedly stopped on, when they arrested him. Although I've heard, I don't know.
Yeah.
It I've heard a lot of people say, he wasn't guilty, that he was framed. I don't know. As far as I'm aware, unless there are a lot of incidents that happened afterwards that they didn't report because, they caught him. I don't know. But, it's easier when it's one kid, one adult.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
the Abby Libby thing and the place that they were at, it there's a lot of things, honestly, a lot of things that make me seriously doubt that it was a lone wolf. Deja Vu says, wasn't that Abby's first time on the bridge?
Hey,
Yes,
hey, hey, deja vu. Yeah.
to my knowledge, yes, it was. I honestly, I look at the videos of the bridge. I mean, would you, Coach Kev, would you cross that bridge? I
Well,
wouldn't.
I definitely would now without hesitating since they redid it. I don't know if
Oh
Frank
yeah.
Meister they had to walk yesterday, and there's a lot. And Frank Meister was saying how he was a little nervous going over it, and he goes out there, and it's really fixed up nice. But I'm not a big fan of heights. I usually drive the engine, or I'm usually on the pipe, which means I'm on the hose inside. If I have to go up the ladder, I will. So yeah, I would have been able to walk across that, have it just like not. I wouldn't look down. I wouldn't stop. I think the people that are nuts are the people that stand on them platforms over there. Like those things are like 80 years old, them wooden platforms, and they're standing. That
Mm-hmm.
reporter that did that, the documentary laid on it. I'm like, there's no way. No, I wouldn't do that. No way. But if I had to if there was a kid or something or someone stuck, yeah, you just do it. You just, after you come back, you're like, whoa. But you
Yeah.
don't think about it then. Try not to.
Right. Right.
But you're right. It was her first time, as far as I know, and I believe her mother was a little upset actually that
Yeah.
she was even out there. That wasn't like okay. So, but kids are kids. You know what I mean?
I know, and but I'm just saying, if that had been my daughter out there,
Oh well,
if I had said, I'd have been, oh my gosh. I remember one time, I mean, and I'm always on the phone, I'm watching them. I remember one time, my son, this is years ago when he was still a minor. I was on Facebook one day, and he was at his dad's. It's on a Saturday, and all of a sudden, I see this picture of him skateboarding off his dad's garage, like midair. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm like texting him, son, are you okay? I mean, he's like roof high. Whew. So, I mean, yeah, had I seen a Snapchat of my daughter on a bridge like
yeah,
that, I'd have been out there. I'd have been in my car and out there before anybody knew they were missing. I'll
yeah.
just tell you that. And she would
Yeah,
have,
absolutely. And that kid would have been in trouble like they thought they were going to be. You know what I mean? You're all you initially, oh, they're out screwing around or they're not coming back or whatever.
mm-hmm.
They're in trouble. That's what they both families were. Oh, they're going to be grounded and this and that. So yeah, but there's just so much that night. The drone flight, you know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
we use FLIR technology in the fire service, and I talked to Indie Archives. Indie Archives works with Frosty and Meow, and they do a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of the drone. Great stuff with Flora. Great stuff all around, actually. And so his drone goes, I think, up to like 120 degrees, where ours goes, it starts at like 80 and goes up to 1,000 or 1,200 because it's fire. So sometimes if it's that hot, we're going to see it. But usually when you look at a wall that's on fire, it's like between 200 and 400. So you hold it to a wall and you look. So I'm very familiar with using the FLIR technology. And like I said, is it the same thing? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but it's just on a different scale. Things that can cover and block FLIR technology, paper, piece of paper, leaves. If someone was covering someone with leaves, those leaves could stop those little sonar, not sonar, whatever those little beams are to go in there and pick that up. They were able to see deer in the creek. They're able to see the body temperature. I learned through investigating this case that you only lose a degree an hour for the first 8 hours or so, which was crazy to me. And it could maybe even be 2 degrees if they're in the water, and maybe 3 degrees if they're wet. But worst case scenario, that drone would have located them and should have located. So everyone says, "Oh, did you fly over there?" Yeah, we didn't see it, but they could have been covered. Someone in the know could have said, "We could do this X, Y, and Z," or even like a tarp. If you hold something like that over it, it'll block those rays. Glass, if you put it in the glass, it messes it up. It like shoots it back at you. So I'm just familiar with FLIR, so that can bring you a little bit of expertise, just a little bit into the Delphi things. But I can't explain the
Yeah.
drone either, why I didn't pick them up. And I've heard theories, and look, you can't dismiss any. I'll listen to what anyone got to say as long as they're respectful and make me think and make me challenge me. I'm okay with that.
Oh
I'll go do
yeah.
some research.
Absolutely. Icebox says Georgia Bureau of Investigation and
Oh,
Indiana Connections. What I've heard this, and I know they contacted and were looking into Georgia. Does anybody know why?
was it some? I don't know. I would assume that it was a suspect. There was someone on their radar that left and went there. I don't know. But if you remember the Stevenson murders that they were talking about that could be connected, but they said weren't connected. Well, the Inquisitor just did a really good video, like an hour, 20-minute video on the Stevenson murders. This couple that was murdered and, sorry, unalived. I can say that all the time. Apologize. And sorry, YouTube, strike me, not her. But there was a link. They admitted it was a trucker. The trucker was the link. Now the trucker gave up DNA. It wasn't him. Blah blah blah. But Georgia. So was there another link to this trucker, or is there some thought that a trucker was somehow involved or something like that? Because that was the link from Delphi to the Stevenson murder, and it ended up being a trucker somewhere in northern Indiana. But they were very very coy, or they weren't saying what was the connection or anything like that. But when I hear the state that far away, I think of like a trucker or something, but that's just a guess. I don't know. But I have heard them rumblings.
I just got an email. I was reading it right before we went on about a trucker theory. So I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, the Stevenson Ruckus did an interview with Detective Coy Cox, and he's the guy that works it, and he's a real cool, good looking silver fox guy, really, really well spoken. Probably going to run for public office after he's done being a cop. He should. And he wouldn't really get into what the details were, but he said there was some kind of connection that someone saw this and this, and the scenes aligned somehow. And they were used. They said that they did posing there, or not posing, staging. This house was staged. Pictures were moved around and stuff like that. They knew the people, and they spent a good deal of time with the people after they had passed away. So whatever that means. But check the Steven. That's another rabbit hole. You have enough to cover, but if you want to expand into another one, the Stevens, they were an older couple, and they preached to truck drivers. That's the truck driver connection. They had a stand, a little trailer, and say, "Come on and we'll pray with you. We have services, but anyone that pulls in and wants to say a prayer, come on, let's go."
Yeah,
And that's what happened to them for being nice people like that. So that's
I
really sad.
know that was so sad. Such a sad case. Yeah, uh, Lambert, I cannot believe Ellie did not confiscate that phone when Kelsey was in the station with her phone on the 13th. chain of custody broken. I don't, because if it was a phone that she was using to break into, like we talked about, break into her accounts, but still, even at that,
I
I
could have
mean,
seen them taking her phone, Kelsey's phone, when she was
yeah,
using her phone to break in the. I could have seen them taking. Give me your phone right now. We need to see
right,
this.
right.
So
So, I mean, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, which I'm not sure is really deserved, but at the time they did not know the gravity of the situation. They thought
yeah,
these girls were just lost. So, you have to look at
yes,
it too that way. If they really thought that, then let's see. Okay, I'm getting down to your icebox. Thank you so much. Has there ever been clarity about whether the Snapchat was sent to specific people or was it posted as their story?
there's
And
Snapchat story. People
I
screenshotted.
thought I
I'm sure she'll pop right back in. I'm not sure. I haven't. I have not clarity to me. No, I've seen many things back and forth, but I have not. I wouldn't say clarity icebox, but I know the screenshot that you're talking about. And that was like, from what I understand, it's how the original picture got out. Right, the one that was on the bridge. I know the boy that screenshot. I won't say his name. He's an adult now, but the boy that screenshotted it, and if I'm not mistaken, sent it to a news or something. Hey, she's back. We lost you for a minute there.
who's back?
We lost you. I didn't see you for a minute. I don't know
Really?
if anyone else did or not. I just kept talking. Didn't you hear me? I thought you were popping right back, and I was like, she'll be right back. And I just
No.
started talking. And
I
sorry.
I
Only the
didn't.
viewers know.
Okay, I don't know. Look, the other
Maybe
night
I disappeared.
I don't. No, I heard you. I saw you, and
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
don't know what happened. The other night, my computer just kept saying sinking, sinking, and then my mouse was moving by itself. So I don't know. I've got a VPN on here, but who knows? Whatever, y'all. You must think my life is really that interesting. If you want to hack into me, I would not suggest it for many reasons, but whatever.
I used to tell people if someone hacks into my bank account and steals my identity, they'll make it to Duquesne, which is the town across the street or across the river from me.
Yeah, right.
You'll get across one bridge, and after that, you're on your own.
Um, But yeah, to weigh in for you, Icebox, I was under the impression that it was a story, not sent to individual people. Although I don't think the girl, what was her name? I can't think right now. Was it Michaela? No, I can't remember her name. Anyway, she was a friend of Libby's and said that she screenshotted it, which at the time you could do that, and I think now you can replay when Snapchat, and I'm trying to think, it's been a long time. When Snapchat first came out, I used it uh, with some friends, knowing, okay, that like if you didn't get it the very first time, you couldn't replay it. Now you can, and I think
Oh,
it's for
yeah, yeah, I know what
24
you mean.
hours.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, if you could send something and it was like, it would instantly disappear, that's when I use Snapchat. Just because I sent, it wasn't like vulgar, y'all don't, get your minds out of the gutter. It was things that, maybe no makeup days, uh, funny stuff that I would not put out in public and want that to be haunting me forever. but I used Snapchat for a little while, and then when I realized you could like replay it, I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah. I actually thought there was a boy involved, unless that was the reporter in that screenshot. But I don't think it was sent. I think it was just posted. I don't think it was sent out to individual people because there's a boy that maybe he screenshotted or took her screenshot and is the one that sent it to one of the reporters, and that's where like that one news station had it first. There's some kind of link to it. I can't remember the exact specifics, but like Delphi, that's how everything works. There's this guy, then this guy, then this girl, then over here, then boom. Then it's like nothing's ever just like directly, one to one, like easy to figure out. Nothing.
Yeah. Um, I want to hurry and get into Flora because I know we've
Oh
got a
yeah.
lot to say. Uh, and I time out at 2 hours. So Yes, Jinx says I live in a haunted house. Yes, I do.
Hey, there
Absolutely
you
do.
go.
And yeah, that's a whole story. That's if I ever have any members to my channel, that's probably something I'd talk about in a private chat, private live. I'm not going to put that on here. I actually have another channel where I did put that on there.
Oh.
So y'all go dig around, see if you can find it. It's not does not have the word silky in it.
This
Um,
is the crowd that does digging around, so someone will find it.
yeah, tell me if you can find it. It's still up there. I kind of abandoned it to start this one. I still occasionally do things on there. Icebox, I'm not going to highlight that, but I see your message and email me at silkyandsouthern at gmail.com. Uh, okay, Cop Facts, I understand. Thank you so much for coming in here. I
Yeah,
very
great.
much appreciate it.
Great to always see you, Perry. Do some more videos too. Piss on what people say. You're good. You got
Yes,
it. You
yes.
got it, man.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I
Huge,
like
huge.
them.
Okay, so for those, and I know we could talk about, Lord, we could talk about Delphi forever.
You can.
But and yes, and I know that most of you in here, and I'm glad that you are familiar with Flora because that's good conversation. If you're watching this on the replay and you don't know who the Flora Four uh, or the Flora Angels, we'll just call them the Flora Angels, are, then we are going to tell you this tragedy happened about 3 months before Delphi, okay, in a little town called Flora, which is just a few, literally, like, what did Meow say? Something like, oh,
It's
sorry,
like
my
10 or 11 minutes down like there's a straight road and a crooked road. And that's what they call it. You can either
yeah.
take the straight road or the crooked road there. But it's like 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes.
Um. Okay. But okay, let me put this up here. Yeah, it's right down the road, and that's the thing. If you haven't heard it, then it's right there. It's strange. A lot of the same players, okay, you'll hear some of the same names when you really study this case, come up in Delphi as well. Of course, it is in the same county, and it is, you know, it's a small county, okay, small towns. So there you go. All right, I'm going to go to this, Coach Kev. All right, here is, and this is at 103 East Columbia Street in Flora, Indiana. This is actually after, I think, I imagine this is after, but I'm going to read you the case for those who are catching up. Uh, but as you're looking at this house, if you look at the right side, as you're facing it, that is the side that Galen Rose, the mother, lived with her four daughters, Kiana, Kiara, Kiani, and Cariel. Now, and they were young, between, what it was, it 7 and 11, or was it 5? We're fixing to read it. There were some little ones in there. Anyway, this just to let you know what this looks like. I've got it on my TV so I can see the big screen too. Um, Let me go to the next one.
It's a really
On
funky layout to that house. Really funky layout.
Yeah, let me go back there for just a second because
Actually, the window on the left is actually the girl's bedroom. So
yeah,
if you go downstairs, this was an old house that was split in two. So basically, if you go in the front door, which is right underneath us, and you make a left up the stairs and then another hard left, you'll go into their bedroom. If you were to go to the top of the steps and go down a hall just a little bit, make a right, they built a wall there. That's a wall for a separate apartment. It was unnatural to that house. And when you do stuff like this, it makes fire move differently too. So that's why it's like one end of the floor where on the right-hand side on the ground is burnt, but it went up the steps to the left. And you could see even at the top there, it came out of the eave or the gable vent at the top there also. But it's a very bizarre layout to that house.
yeah, and which I didn't upload the floor plan, but now this was actually a duplex. So on, as you're facing it, on the right is the downstairs to Galen's, right?
Yeah, that's where the big window is that they break and they take out. Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
Galen had the whole downstairs and just a little bit that one room up to the left. So her bedroom was downstairs, the kitchen was downstairs. Then there was another apartment on the second floor, and they were getting ready to make a third one on the top. I don't think it
Wow.
ever even got completed. So that apartment on the second floor, the one where the smoke detectors worked, that was all a second floor apartment. They didn't have any access to the first floor. You know what I mean?
Right.
They had to leave. They
Right.
had to leave the fire escape. That's how they got out on the side there, on the right hand side. That's how they got out.
On the right hand side on this stairwell.
Yeah, if you see that with the lattice and that, that's actually like their
Yes.
fire escape, and that's their door out. That's how they came in and out of the house. They accessed it.
Okay, so that was Galen didn't have access, and her daughters didn't have access to that stairwell, right?
No, no, not from their house. It was totally sealed off. And actually, they had a lot of problems with their breakers, and Galen had an access to the basement, and they did not. So anytime they had to reset their breakers, they had to come talk to Galen and say, "Hey, can you let me in the basement?" Because Galen had a portion of the basement, I guess, for storage or something that she was able to use, and that was where the breakers were. So the residents from upstairs would have to come down and ask her to hit their breakers on and off because there was on and off electrical problems for quite some time there.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense because I know in another chat somebody had asked, and I wondered too, uh, why couldn't they get out the stairwell? And now there you go. You've answered that for me. Okay, let's go back over to this story. Okay. On Monday, November 21st, 2016, the Flora Fire Department, Carroll County EMS, Flora Police, and Carroll County Sheriff's Department responded. We're going to talk about that at some point. Responded very slowly, to ridiculously slowly, that's my words, to a house fire located at 103 East Columbia Street, Flora. This fire was determined to have been intentionally set, and the investigation of this arson fire continues. The fire resulted in the unalivings of four children: Kiana Davis, Kiara Phillips, Carrie McDonald, and Keani Welch. The mother of the four children, Galen Rose, and two responding police officers suffered non life threatening injuries. Now, that is the short of the story, right? You know, but here is okay, this is what you can see. And thank you, Meow. I wish I didn't ask. This comes from, you want to know about this Flora fire, go to Flora dash, it's FLORA dash 4, FOUR, I can't spell, .org, flora4.org, flora-4.org. I'll get this right. And you'll see there's a lot of information on there. But I actually swiped this from that to show you the burn on here, and we'll go back and forth. There's a lot of photos here, but this is the landing, the stairwell, or that, not the stairwell, but you can see how you get up in here. um There is a civil case against the property landlord, Joshua Ayers, for the wrongful death of Galen's four girls. The defendant property owner failed to equip the downstairs property with working smoke detectors. Indiana law states landlords and landlord businesses are responsible for ensuring there are working smoke detectors in a property. Well, duh. I mean, come on. Uh, Geez. So now, yeah, they are in the complaint filed in a U.S. District Court claims one smoke detector without batteries was found on the ground in the property. The suit lists the landlord company Birch Tree Holdings, and two landlords, Joshua Ayers and Troy Helderman, are responsible for the lack of working fire detectors. Of course, you will find out as you study this case, there's a lot more going on. The legal team expects to enter a jury trial sometime in 2023. I really, really hope there is information. The ISP is the lead investigative agency and is being assisted by the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, the Flora Police Department, and fire investigators from the Indiana DHS. If you have any, yeah, there's the number. If you have any information, there is a reward of $5,000. It used to be more, but guess who it went to? Don't even get me started, Coach Kev. Don't even get me started on this. Okay, let's, before we look at some of these pictures, let's go back for a second and, okay, tell me, uh, first, for anybody who doesn't know, there is a dash cam video that is horrific to watch. I'm not going to play it. Obviously, a lot of things wrong with the way that this was handled and the response time. Actually, I did two videos on the Flora Fire where I get pretty heated, and I'm show you some of the stuff on there. So if you want more, you can go back and look at those. They're a few months ago. But tell me, because you're the one, so like the show here, from now on is yours. I'm gonna throw up some questions and comments you can respond to. What is the first thing that strikes you about Flora?
The first thing that strikes me, and I like I said, I have a department of about 30 guys, and I probably talked to them about 20 to 25 of them about this because it's so outrageous. The moving of the bodies. Listen, don't let anyone ever tell you that that's an accepted practice. It's not an accepted practice anywhere in the world, okay? The people from the fire department and the people that try to defend the moving of the bodies, I'm not even talking morally yet. I'm talking evidence, I'm talking about laws of this nation. The only time that you're able to move a body, I shared it on my community page. If there's like an imminent danger or something like that, or maybe the house is going to collapse and you know the person's deceased, but you're good. Okay, let's grab and move them and try not to disturb as much as possible. That was not the case here. The other thing is a state of emergency declared by the governor. I shared that on my community page too. You saw that during Katrina, unfortunately. You had so many people that were literally laying, they passed away and they're in the streets. So you have to move them somewhere for dignity and for health reasons too. So you want to do that. So it's outrageous. Whoever made the decision to move the bodies and whoever participated in moving those bodies, I don't think you're covered by the Good Samaritan Act. You should be charged with a felony. I've asked 3 different fire marshals in Allegheny County at fires, say this is a scenario, we have a person up there that didn't make it out. I moved them outside. What would you do to me? He said, well, I would have to arrest you. I would have to charge you. You wouldn't, would release you or whatever, would have to charge you. So that does not happen anywhere. So not only that, they took the girls out and at least 2 of them were worked. What I mean by worked is I mean CPR was in progress. I'm not a paramedic, but I work with a couple of paramedics, and they say a good rule for anybody: when do you stop doing CPR? When a doctor tells you to stop, or when a nurse in the ER tells you to stop. You do it. Once you start it, you keep doing it. You don't stop. You get to where you're going. Now, there wasn't enough helicopters around because the 2 police officers took them. So they went off and they flew in the emergency helicopters. Gayla might have been flown too.
I think she was. I think she was.
But they worked the girls. So they thought there was a chance that they could be still alive. So they work them. And then at some point, then and there, a decision is made to put them in body bags and move them to the Florida fire station. Okay. So now this law enforcement, not morals, anything on their body is contaminated. It cannot be used. Where'd you get the body bags from? Were they clean? Were they sanitized? We don't know. Larry got them from out of the back over here. Over with. All that evidence is destroyed. All of it's gone. You can't use any of it. You could use the autopsies. I've seen those. I think a lot of us have seen those. And it doesn't tell us anything. There was nothing in them. There was nothing abnormal about any of the girls. They were very healthy. There was no bruises, no marks, no drugs of any kind in them. They perished from the fire, from various reasons from the fire. So that is just, don't let anyone ever tell you that that's an accepted practice, because it isn't. It's insane. No one that I worked with on a police force or in a fire department, when I told him this, said they ever heard anything like this. My brother works for the Attorney General in the state of Pennsylvania, and he just laughed. He's like, that couldn't really happen. I sent him the article. He's like, I've never heard anything like that in my life. So that's insane. The other thing is, who pronounced the girls unalive? Okay. The only way that an EMT can really do it, and technically too, I don't know the laws, but pretty close to a paramedic, is when you can just call someone unalive. They are clearly unalive. They've been unalive for weeks, or a vital part of their body's missing and it's not there anymore. I don't want to say that on YouTube, but if it's not there anymore, they could say that. or they hook up the heart monitor to you. You got no rhythm. Boom. So was there a doctor there on the scene there? Was there a nurse on the scene? Was the medical examiner? We don't know any of this. So that's insanity. You move them to the fire station floor. I know the fireman. Well, we said a prayer and we put them down. So let's get to the morals of it. Those are 4 children, and you took them and put them on the floor of a fire. Or there's people around. Well, guess what? Back the scene up. We're blocking this block up. If you want to stay in your house, stay in this house. Everything around this block, nobody's coming in. It's shut down. End of story. You have the right and the authority to do that. Once the fire's out, it's up to the police officers. They take control of the investigation. And from there, they were fighting with the fire investigator who may or may not have been fighting the fire. We could talk about him too. But that right there, the moving of the bodies is absolutely insane. I've never heard of anything like it. I've done this for 22 years. I have guys I work with they've been here for 40 years. And they say, no, I had to send them the article because they didn't believe it. So if anyone tells you, oh, that's not a normal practice, I want to know why people haven't been charged with the crime for moving them.
Yes.
Because it's a crime. Period. It's a crime. Then you leave the house open for weeks. I don't know why it's still standing because none of it, you can't use any of it anymore. It was never cordoned off the right way. So they totally, screwed the pooch from the door. Doug Carter said that. It wasn't our best day, ISP. Yeah. They took over about 2 weeks after this snafu, but.
That is mind-boggling. I have never in my life heard of somebody laying them on the fire station floor. I mean, to me, that is the biggest insult that you could do to a body of anybody, especially for children. Yeah. My God, I can't.
How were they transported? We don't even know how they were transported. Were they put in an ambulance? Were they put in
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Were they put on the back of the fire truck? I mean, in the seat? Where were they? Good question. How were they transported? To me, it is, you would think at the very least, they would be charged with abuse of a corpse.
Tampering with evidence. I mean, there's a list of things there, but also who pronounced them unalive? Who made that call? That person is, in my opinion, is in the biggest jackpot of everybody. Unless there was a doctor there. Maybe there was a doctor on the scene, and if that doctor did that, then he's totally fine with it. He's cool with it. But you're giving CPR to children. You don't stop till you get to the hospital. I don't care how far away it is. That's what you do.
Right.
That's a child. That's what you do. So, I mean, I don't know. I hate to attack people. I want to be a Monday morning quarterback. The fire tactics themselves were less than stellar. But to be totally honest with you, with the exception of maybe one person, that there's nothing illegal going on at the fighting of the fire. It's just, I don't understand some of the tactics. We'll talk about that. But whoever started the fire, and the way it was handled after, let me tell you, people need to go to prison for a long time because of that. And I think it's several people.
Yeah.
Without question.
I do too. And just to recap for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, this fire happened at a little bit after 4 a.m. Okay. At 4 a.m, Galen Rose's, her bedroom is downstairs. Okay. The girls are upstairs. She wakes up. She smells smoke. She does not remember hearing a smoke alarm. It is okay. The smoke alarm that they did find in the hallway, they couldn't find a battery, and it's up in the air, whatever. There's a lot of controversy over that. But she tried to go. Galen gets up. She smells smoke. She knows something's wrong. And she tries to go up the stairs, but she can't because the smoke is just too heavy. So she goes out of the house and she's screaming. She's standing on the sidewalk. She's screaming and crying. The neighbor hears this, okay, Elizabeth Ayers, who is related to Josh Ayers, one of the owners of the property, okay, the one that's in charge of having smoke alarms and having everything up to code.
He's also the town council president, Josh Ayers.
Yes, there you go. Mm-hmm. There you go. He also owns a hardware store and several other things. Yeah. He's one of the ones in Birch Tree Holdings. Now, Elizabeth sees this going on. She sees Galen crying, screaming. I mean, Coach, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you see your neighbor outside, screaming, crying, my babies, and you smell smoke, what is the first thing you're going to do?
It happened to me in November of this year. I was outside catching a cigarette it was in the winter and there was snow, and I looked at my neighbor's house and the roof was on fire, and I looked like
Wow.
3 times, like, are you kidding me? I immediately call 911. I stay on the line with them. I go and I bang on, and they're older, bang on the door, and they're like, what? They're scared. They have a big dog. They're like, who is that? What's going on? I was like, your roof's on fire. And the guy looks like, are you sure? And I says, I heard the dispatch. I was able to hear the dispatch of my 911 call. And I said, yeah, I'm effing sure it's on fire. Like, what do you think? I'm going to tell you it's on. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting him out of it. But you immediately call 911. And then, like, my son was home. I told him to too. So just in case I lost my connection, but I'm going to get them out. You immediately call 911. Immediately. You don't wait and talk for 6 or 7 minutes and then call 911, because that's what happened. That's insane. Now, there's a couple of times where maybe someone doesn't do it right away because they freak out. But all those people out there, and for 6 minutes, you might stand there for 30 seconds and be like, oh, you know what? I didn't call 911. Maybe I'll call. But all those people standing out there, and that's how you know it's a good call. You'll get a call out for a fire, and on the way there, it'll say, we're receiving multiple calls. And then you'll get the obligatory police on scene confirming fire through the roof or whatever the case. But no one called. But she called her brother. It wasn't like she didn't have a phone. She knew to call someone, and she called her brother who owns the property and on 911.
Yeah. And they're on and it's 6 minutes before she calls 911.
6 minutes before anyone calls 911. Yep, you're right. That's that. And here's a rule of thumb. A general rule of thumb: fire doubles every minute if it's unchecked, and as long as it has its sources and its oxygen and everything to make it burn. So that fire theoretically got 6 times larger in that period of time, from the time that she could have made the call to the time she didn't. And then what entailed after that was, well, it was what it was.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, that's mind-boggling that you're gonna see a woman screaming for her kids, and you're gonna say, oh, well, let me call the homeowner, because I mean, he walks on water and he can pull a fire hose out of his rear end and put this fire out. I mean, like, what why do you not call 911? To me, that is I don't know if there's a charge for that, but there should be.
Yeah, I've never experienced that at a fire. Sometimes if someone have like a water leak and it's leaking in someone's apartment downstairs, they don't want to, they'll call the landlord first because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble. But if something's on fire, in my 22 years, I've never heard of anyone calling the landlord before they call 911. So
right, it's crazy. So, so that happened. Then it takes forever for just for those who don't know, a police officer responds, runs in the house, tries to get the girls out, can't. This is like, there's more to this story. Can't, goes to the Flora Fire Department, who was already toned out. Because if you, again,
doors open.
Yeah, and they weren't even leaving yet. Josh Dysinger goes to the Flora Fire Department a few blocks away.
It was Yoder that went to the department.
Oh, Yoder. Yeah, Dysinger was already there. Yoder, yeah, Drew Yoder. It was his dash cam. Thank you. I get these so mixed up.
No, it's okay. There's so many names.
yeah. So Yoder goes in the house. Okay, he's a policeman, also a volunteer firefighter. He's actually working as a policeman, goes to the residence, tries to get the girls out, realizes he has no equipment, of course, he's, and so he goes to the Flora Fire Department, gets an air pack, goes back to the house, and is trying again before the Flora Fire engine ever gets there. Like, he's already done all this. I mean, to me, this is insanity, because when you read the timeline and the record of this, you see how long it took, and then you turn around and you see how long it took for the fire department to go a few blocks.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think was up with that?
Well, first of all, it's a volunteer fire department, and no disrespect to volunteer firemen, because they do crazy stuff for free. Like, I get paid a fair living. I'm not rich, but I make a very fair living. The city's very fair to us. That we're taken care of, but they're doing this for free. So it's the middle of the night. So usually nobody's there. So it's going to take them a few minutes to get there. So if you watch the dash video, Yoder pulls up. Dysinger gets there just a little before him. He parks across the street. If he has a dash cam video, I've never seen it, but I'd like to see it because it was pointing away from the house. And I'd like to see who was moving around early on and during the scene, but I don't know if he has one or not. So they try to go in. Galen's screaming in the street. It's 3:30 in the morning, in the middle of the night. And this is when you have this happen in the fire department, it's the middle of the night. Mom is screaming in the street and pointing to a window. My kids are right there. In my experience, every single time that happens, there's kids in that room right there. It's the middle of the night. They're usually sleeping. Mom's screaming and freaking out. That's good information. It isn't you pull up to a house and the neighbor's like, I think they're in there. I'm not really sure. So, children, your mindset changes right away.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if you have enough people or not, someone to attack the fire, someone to rescue, it's rescue time. I don't care if this house burns to the ground. My goal is to get those people out and keep us safe. So in the video, he leaves the scene and goes to the station. I think it takes 27 seconds. That's how close this house is to the fire station. I think it takes Yoder 27 seconds. He goes in there, the door's open. Okay. So there's a guy inside of there. If you watch the dash cam video and you listen to it, he's like, hey man, we got to get moving. There's kids in that house. He's like, I only work on computers. This is what this guy says in the middle of the night at 3:00 in the morning on the station. So the door's open. So yes, they were alerted because the door's not going to be open at 3 a.m., even in a paid department because we're in bed sleeping at that time. But so the door's open. So they got the call. I don't know who this guy is or why he only works on computers. Yoder races back. You see him don the mask and the pack. Boom, he gets and goes in. He goes up the steps. And at some point early on when he tries to go up those steps, something happens, something kind of catastrophic. He said it felt like the smoke alarm blew up on him. But smoke alarm doesn't blow up. Batteries don't blow up. The battery smoke alarms, they don't melt away. They don't blow up. They just don't. Lithium-ion batteries, if you had one of those, they blow up. But guess what? Lithium-ion batteries are only in smoke detectors that are new smoke detectors, and you cannot change the batteries anymore in new smoke detectors. You have to throw them away. So the fact that there was no battery tells me it was an old smoke detector. It was 2017. It was probably like a 2012 model, but batteries don't melt away. Something could have been on the steps, an acetate, a nail polish remover or something. They could just had it sitting there. It could have heated to its flash point and exploded on them. But he went over, and you could see in the window, if you know what you're looking for, you have a mask-mounted regulator, and it gives you your air gauge right here. So you have it here from here, and then you have your gauge, and it'll tell you what you have, but you'll be able to see it in here too. Well, he has a light here, and when he's laying on his back, I can tell that through the window, he's laying on his back, and his alarm's going off because I can hear his pass alarm. Sounds like a car alarm. The lights go with it. So it lets you know if a downed fireman, you could see him in dark. Oh, he's over there. They end up, Dissinger pulls him out. The fire department shows up. The other guy helps, and they ended up getting him out of there. And later on in the whistleblower letter, the fire departments, whoever wrote the whistleblower letter said he prevented them from saving the girls. That's total BS because they weren't there. They weren't inside yet. Now, if they were inside and he ran in and interfered with the operation, cops know better than that. But if he did that, someone probably would have punched him in the face and threw him outside. He was in there attempting to do everything he could. So I don't see it. To me, Yoder's more of a hero in this situation than anything else. I can't speak to Dissinger because I don't see him that much on the video, and I don't know what he's doing when Yoder's going to get the pack.
Right.
I don't know what he's doing before the call. Does he have a dash cam? Where is he? We know all that with Yoder. And if Dissinger does have a dash cam and they haven't released this, I'd be very suspicious, like what's happening here. But he might not have one too. So that's a little feel on that.
Okay, so and let's get to and this is so there's so much to this. Okay, what do you think about the 911 call that for y'all who don't know, they would not release the 911 call. It went to court. Like everybody was suing, taking this to court, trying to get the 911 call released. And it went as high as it could go. So what do you think? Okay, this is supposition, all right? What do you think? Because we've seen the dash cam now. That dash cam, to me, has the most damning evidence. But what could be in that 911 call that they don't want us to hear, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, 911 calls are public information, okay? Indiana has a very specific law. They have a compliance officer that whenever 911 was asked for this by the channel, or whatever reporter it was, asked for the 911 tape, the 911 communications director talked to this compliance guy, and he says, yeah, you got to release it. And then the town council and everyone else got involved. What they're saying is it's part of an investigation, and it's part of their investigation. And if they would release it, it would release too much about the investigation. So is someone on the 911 tape saying so-and-so did this? Because if not, you're not releasing this. This is a cover-up. I mean, why would not you release this tape? The obligation is on the agency to say that we can't release this. Anyone calls and gets a 911, like a 911 call, they could redact it, but they have to give it to you. If they don't give it to you, the burden is on them why they can't give it to you, because it's part of an ongoing investigation. But I can't imagine, unless someone's saying, I bet you so-and-so did this. Well, if that's the case and that's on that tape and you haven't went and arrested or talked to so-and-so, then we got bigger questions than who did this, maybe. You know what I mean? Like who's helping them or what's going on here. But the 911, that's another thing. I have it on my list too. It's bizarre. There's 911 calls released. These mass shooters, they release 911 calls. You know, the children in schools and stuff, they're releasing 911 calls, but they won't release this. And it's not an Indiana thing. It's a national. Indiana has a law, and to me, they're violating it. But like you said, they kind of took it as high as you can go. I don't know if you could take something like that to the Supreme Court of the country or not, but yeah. So it's
I don't.
And it's been almost 7 years, so that 911 call is not helping you. So let us hear it. No one wants to hear it. And one of the people in the town council said, maybe we might see me show up one day this summer or fall at a town council meeting in Flora, which will be entertaining, I guarantee you. But you people are sick. You want that released? No. You're sick if you don't want this crime solved. Tex, you know what I mean? I hate to give it away to you, but like that's so to stop that. That to me tells you this guy doesn't want this released. And to some of those meetings, people have done videos on them. If you watch those Florida town council meetings, I mean, it's embarrassing if you live there. You know, these guys are so like. Oh,
you're right.
I can take a shower after I watch one of those meetings because I feel dirty.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right about that. And I mean, I can see. I think now that we've seen Drew Yoder's dash cam, it answers a lot of questions to me as to maybe what they're trying to suppress with the 911 call. That's just my opinion. But what do you see? Well, there's probably so much. That dash cam, the people in the uniforms, okay, we'll just say the firemen, stand on that porch forever. So is there as a fireman, is there any excuse for that?
Well, I would have rather them just stand on the porch than them punch that front window out.
You're right. Yeah.
So what happens is you have a search. You know that there's good information. Mom's in the street, 3:30 in the morning, screaming. My kids are in that room. A fireman with any amount of experience that knows that's good information. I need to follow that up. This isn't a neighbor. Oh, I think he's in there, like I said before. So you want to get to the girls the easiest way. Where's the bedroom? Go up the steps, make a left. You get to the steps, and for whatever reason, you can't make it up those steps. The fires impinged it. They never burned out. So it wasn't like it was structurally unsound. It was just too hot. So you could either try to hit it with some water, but if you do that, you're putting the fire between you and the victims, right? You and the people you're trying to rescue. You want to try to not do that because you're going to steam burn those people. People don't understand that. That's tremendous amount of heat, and that energy is released when I flow water on that. You see that in the picture when they start flowing water, and big gray smoke comes pushing out. That's all the energy from the fire being transferred into steam. What we as firemen don't want to see is brown smoke, black smoke, or smoke under pressure coming out under. That's scary because like, oh, something's burned, something's about to blow up, something bad's going to happen. When you see white smoke, that's a good sign. Mm-hmm. So if I'm running a pump at my fire and the fire's on this side and the pump's over here and I can't see over the truck, I look up and see white smoke. I'm like, oh, the boys are getting it done. You know, they're doing something right. So just watch that little bit of smoke. But let's say, okay, we can't get a line in there. We can't get up. You go to the porch roof. You know what their window is. Porch roofs are like blessings to firemen. Whether they have a little pitch or they're flat, you could take equipment up there. You use a ground ladder to get on it. It's easy to get in and out of the window because you don't have to transition off a ladder. Usually those windows too when you know they're in bedrooms, sometimes you can reach in and just grab people out of there. You don't even have to go into the room. Why they never put a ladder up, I don't know. That's a problem they have with their tactics. And it was an error. It was a bad error. But why don't you work off of that? If you can't get up that way, then you could have another team of guys go in and try to hit that fire. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can push in forward. It takes a little, what the wrestling guys used to say, testicular fortitude. You push a little forward and you push that fire in the kitchen, and you let the guys get behind you and go up the steps and make their rescue that way. And you kind of try to hold the fire at bay as best you can. That's not something I should probably say on the air that we do. Maybe we do it in McKeesport, maybe we don't. It's not a safe technique for firemen, but I'm going to tell you what, if there's 4 little girls stuck and our job is what it is, we've done that a few times before, and we've been lucky, but we've been successful with it. So there's different techniques that you can use, but I would have went right to that window. As soon as if that fire would have been bad, even if the stairs weren't, totally bad, that window might be the way to go anyway, because I could get them right out that window to fresh air. I don't have to take them from the room, down the steps, through the heat, back out the house. I could even just go in their room and just stick their heads out the window so they're breathing fresh air, and someone from outside grabs them, pulls them out, takes them down a 14-foot ground ladder. That's not a big deal. And the firemen and firewomen that were at that fire that gave it that all that night, that's going to haunt them forever. But those are the people that we need to come forward and tell us what they know about before and after that fire. And they think that they're doing the right thing by covering for their friends, but they're not. They're not.
I don't, friends, whatever. I love my friends, but we're talking about 4 little girls.
Yeah, we draw a line there. Yep, I agree with you.
I'm sorry. I'm not covering for you. I'm not. There's got to be some kind of moral compass somewhere in Carroll County. You would think.
Then there was allegations made against Galen where she was doing something in the street or something. That was proven false. But what we did see was the chief, Adam Randall, standing there staring at her outside in full bunker gear, not doing anything, standing there. So he's the chief. He's the incident commander. Their response and their actions at the fire go back to him. He gave no kind of leadership. He tried to say they were using some positive pressure ventilation, which is a tactic that we use to move the smoke and stuff. You need a fan for that. They never had a fan there. Come on, man. You better come up with something better than that. And you're just standing there. You're supposed to do a 360 as the incident commander. You walk around the house if you can. If topography lets you, if the house is on a cliff, you can't. Make sure no one's hanging out of windows, making sure there isn't like there's electrical wire hanging back here, just to do a quick walk around. He's standing there like staring at her. Like what that's beyond bizarre to me. Beyond bizarre. Profiling wise, firefighting wise. And then he said that what didn't happen. And the dash cam, like Maury would say, the dash cam proved that was a lie.
Oh my gosh. So, obviously, there were people there way before the fire department. Josh being one, I believe Adam Randall was there, if I'm not mistaken, throwing rocks at the windows, breaking the window. And you can hear on the dash cam, you can hear when glass breaks a lot of times.
That came out in the, I think we actually have that. Meow got that. I think it was in the civil case where they were suing the stove company. They lost that case. It wasn't the stove, but they talked about that and they said, well, you need to break the windows out. All that does is stoke the fire, make it bigger. I've never in my career ever have heard of residents throwing and breaking windows out. I've seen people try to break windows where they've known someone's been in there, but they were breaking all the windows out on the top floor. Yeah. And the only thing that's going to do is going to make the fire grow, because the best accelerant for fire is air, is the atmosphere. You know why? Because it's never going to go away. So if you have a fire and you have material to burn and you have a window open, that air's blowing in, that fire will burn for as long as the material is there to burn. When you see that fireman punch that window out without being ready, that hose should have been past that window. He punches that window out within 2 seconds. The stairs off gas and catch on fire within 2 seconds. And then within 7 seconds, it's lipping over their heads. At that point, game's over. That heat and smoke that's being created by that is going right up them steps like a chimney and right into the girls' rooms. And there's still no one up top trying to help them. So that's not illegal. That's not gross negligence unless you said, oh, I did that on purpose. That's just really, really poor performance. I hate the Monday morning quarterback. I like to keep it to the before and after, but there were some things that just leave you scratching your head that none of my guys could explain. Why would you do it this? We couldn't even come up with why. I don't know. No one could even think of that. So I don't. But you see the guys on the porch, they're waiting for their water. He gives them the thumbs up, or you do this, go ahead. And you could see when the water's coming. I could tell the line starts to kick, and then it jerks back a little bit, and they flow the water for about 10 seconds, and the fire looks like it goes out. Imagine if they would have been called 6 minutes earlier. Okay. Imagine if they would have responded with just a little bit more chutzpah, a little bit more giddy up in their step. I'm telling you, those girls would have been alive. Because the way that fire goes out, the way it gets knocked down, they would still be alive. I'm telling you right now, if any of those things would have changed, that's how close it was. I really believe that's how close it was.
And that's what's so heartbreaking.
It kills it. It just,
yeah, it's heartbreaking and it's maddening. I get livid. Sherry Faye wants to know, was there danger of backdraft?
No, there's no danger. Backdraft only happens. So if you ever watch the movie Backdraft, the better name for it would be flashover, because that's what happens. Flashovers are more scarier than backdrafts to firemen. So a backdraft can only occur when the house is buttoned up tight. Okay. I've actually, knock on wood, I've never actually seen one in my career. So the house is buttoned up, everything's closed. So what you have in the house is you have, everything's kind of like the fuel's burn out. So it's an oxygen deficient fire. You'll see yellowing and staining of the windows. I've seen videos. You can watch them. The house actually looks like it's trying to breathe. It's sucking like in and out a little bit. As soon as someone opens up a window, what happens is an explosion happens. I've seen front of buildings blown off on videos, not in person, but a flashover or a rollover is what had happened here. And you could see it if you look at the ceiling. The fire development kind of tells you at the ceiling what it's doing. So when they hit that window and that begins to roll like that, that's a rollover, and everything in that kitchen flash. During flashover, everything in a room or a compartment heats its ignition point at the same time, including human beings if they're in there. Boom. So you just start off gassing right away. You basically, everything catches on fire in like an instant. That room gets so hot. So as soon as that air got introduced, plus the back door was left open, so you had like a tunnel of air going through, feeding. It was like a blowtorch effect. And you see that rolling out of there. That rollout came from the kitchen over their heads in about maybe 30 seconds is all it took. And that was the air that they put in that fire. And you even see guys later on at the end breaking window. What are you breaking the window for? The fire's out. So that just tells me a little bit about maybe the mentality there. Again, the guys and gals are out there doing it for free, but like, at the end of the day, how much is someone's life worth? Maybe you pay some people. When they do get paid, they get paid there per call or per hours that they log. Because I actually have a payroll sheet from the Flora Fire, and they only got paid for 2.5 hours. Wow. So I don't know if they were there. If you're only there for 2.5 hours, that's insane. A quadruple fatal fire, you're usually there for 5 to 8 hours, answering questions, just assisting the fire marshal and how their investigation. But the fire marshal or the fire investigator was the fire chief's dad, Dennis Randall, who was a former policeman who wasn't allowed to be a policeman anymore. And he said there was accelerants found everywhere. And multiple fire investigators said this guy used no science in his theory at all. The fire chief's son, Adam Randall, resigned, and his dad resigned. Dennis Randall, the fire investigator, both resigned after this. I don't know. I want to point fingers or say anything, but like, you draw your own conclusions. And I hope that you people don't take my word for this. I hope you look all this up and back it up, because that's when you'll pick something up and maybe, hey, Coach Kev, when I was trying to prove you wrong and I thought what you said was crazy because this whole incident's crazy, I found this. Did you know this? Like, oh, no, I didn't hear that. Like today, somehow all the hours on Delphi I watched, I never heard that Libby wasn't on social media for 3 days. I'm like, how did I miss that?
Yeah. It seems like, and when it seems like when you go back, especially, there have been so many good comments in there. I've been trying to highlight some, but y'all have some things I am snickering at.
Tanisha, no ladder was used. That's one of the biggest questions people ask me. I don't have an answer, but they definitely had ground ladders on an engine. It doesn't have to be a ladder. Every fire truck carries ladders, unless it's like a specialized brush truck or something. But they 100% had ladders on that truck that would have reached that roof. Yes.
let me ask you this, because I don't know much about fires, but when I was looking at the dash cam, I, the flame is there in the mid to back section, the whole time, but they go through the front. So, I mean, there's a window there. You can see the fire. Why didn't they break out that window and go in that way?
You mean from the side of the house, like where the
Yeah.
dash cam is facing? Well, the best thing that you can do is you want to attack the house from the unburnt side all the time. So the thought process is, if the back of the house is on fire and I go to where the fire starts shooting the hose, the fire will push into the house. So they
Okay.
attacked it from the right place. So even though you're bringing that hose across the floor and you're going to get water damage on the floor, you're actually preserving more of the house. So I don't blame them for doing that. And anytime you have to go in a window, you worry about cuts. You have to knock the window, you have to clear it. And it's easy just to go in the way and out you normally do in the house if you can help it. But that's one of the people ask me, how come you didn't go right around the back? Because I said, well, that
Yeah.
would push the fire in. So you always want to attack from the unburnt side if you can help it. Sometimes you can't help it, but they could have knocked something down in the back. They could have put a hose in the window real quick, or a 2.5, which is a bigger hose with different adapters that almost look like, we call them deck guns. You could open that up for like 30 seconds and darken that fire down to almost nothing. And then the crew with the line comes in and they knock down the hot spots and basically mop up the fire. We've done that before, but there's no coordination going on whatsoever. You could tell that by the way people are standing. One guy's over here, got his hand up. Multiple people just walk in front of the camera. No one's doing anything. No one has tools in their hands. If you come to a McKeesport fire, we ain't perfect, but we're undermanned. We have a saying, we've done so much with so little for so long, we're now qualified to do anything with nothing. That's what our official saying. But if you see someone at a fire scene walking and they don't have a tool in their hand or a flashlight or a camera, someone's going to say, yo, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to get a cup of coffee from the Sally wagon. Okay, that's okay. But have a tool. No one has anything. No one has a sense of urgency.
Right.
It's frustrating, and it's heartbreaking because like, you're there to be a fireman, man. At least run somewhere, attempt something. Like, just have a sense of urgency. Even if you do that for the public, even if you know people are deceased, you still have a sense of urgency because look, firemen, they at least care. They're getting their pictures out, or they're being, morally correct with their treating of the bodies and this and that. None of that happened here. None of it.
No, and I tell you what I found so very disturbing also is, once they broke the window out on the front and they're standing there on the dash cam, you can see them like they just let the fire
Yeah.
consume the porch. What
It was
what
like
are
they
your
were
thoughts on
burning
that?
themselves too. Like, like that's the first thing that everyone that I watched it at work with, they're like, God, them guys, they had some words for them. Those so and so's they're burning themselves. What are they doing? They're just standing there like, no idea, no idea. If you know your fire behavior, when you break that's a big window, right? That's one of the nice living room windows in the front of a house. You break that window, that fire's coming to you. It's
Mm-hmm.
coming to you. There's a technique that you can use when you talk to breaking that window on the outside. You could have broke that window on the outside and sucked the fire that way, and then kind of hit it with your hose and went up the steps. Now we're getting real tactical here, and no offense to that fire department, but they're not, wouldn't be considered a tactical fire department. They're just, they're residents trying to do the best they can do, and some of them are, and some of them are criminals for the cover up. And whoever started this fire in the back mudroom is where it started. That's where they
You're
were
right.
selling at. And but there's other things been said. Josh Ayers, there was a witness named Virginia that came in right after this fire and said that she's heard Josh Ayers say that he started fires in electrical junction boxes by lighting pieces of paper on fire and
Mm-hmm.
basically catching the line on fire so it goes out. And at the end of the day, it's going to look like an electrical fire because it followed the line. It'll burn up the line, and then eventually it'll get into the wall and open up and everything. But they'll be able to tell that. And here's how you could tell where a fire started for anybody that wants to look at pictures. You want to look for a V. You're looking for a V, right? So anywhere you see a V on a black wall, imagine you have a white wall and you have a waste paper basket full of black material that's going to put off a sooty look. You throw a match and it starts catching on fire. As it burns up the wall, it's going to burn a V. So you want to look for that V. That's something fire investigators look for. I only have 16 hours of arson training, so I'm not by far not a fire investigator. And alligatoring of the wood, where it makes the wood look like alligators' backs, like charred. That always tells you where the worst fire, where the fire burned the hottest at. So you can see that. And if you look in the girl's bedroom and the pictures that there afterwards, the fire didn't even get. It was the smoke. There was heat, but it was the smoke. In at least 3 of the cases. So
Let me see. And Kelt had a question up there. While I'm looking for this picture, can you ask please? Can you please ask Coach Kev is lungs or if lungs can contain any accelerant if it was arson? Can they?
I'm sure that they can. Sure, you would probably have to be pretty close to the point of where the fire was started, or if someone poured accelerant on it, it would have to be a live person. Because if you've already are unalive, you won't inhale anything. So if you're unalive before the fire, you won't have anything in your lungs or your tracheal tract. I think that's what they call that. Where you swallow at. But it's possible, but I don't know how likely that would have been in that situation because that accelerant probably burned through, and at that point, everything else in the house was burning. The material in the house and stuff like that. But it could happen for sure, yes. But they'd have to be really close to the source of the fire or have accelerant poured on a live person.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know I've read the autopsy reports as well, and I couldn't. I mean, it says that they of course they found smoke. The cause of death was smoke inhalation. So that's all I know. I didn't see anything. They drug tested and all this kind of stuff, and they didn't find anything. Now, I'm thinking this. Can you see this picture good, Coach
The
Kev?
first one?
This one of the fire.
There's 2 of them on your thing. Is it the first one here?
Uh,
Not the steps, the one before the steps.
yeah, I see. I don't know what you see because I mean, all right. This one, it looks like there's like maybe a desk in this room. I'm thinking this might have been the girls' room. I'm not sure. Um, here's the
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm looking at the steps now. You want the steps?
yeah. Okay, let's go into
Okay.
the steps.
So as you can see, the steps are not broken. What you'll see when the steps burn out, usually they burn out underneath. There'll be pieces missing. There'll be the marks on the walls are probably just made from guys running into the wall, coming up or going down. But there was a lot of heat. Everything's black. Everything's sooty. But clearly you could see there's a lot of heat there. Now, if you went up them steps and you went to the right, I'm not even sure how that wall might be right there where the other apartment is. Now it's an unnatural wall that used to be a hallway. And to the left is the girl's bedroom, and they have some kind of wood block or some kind of particle board up there for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking that maybe this is part of the girls' bedroom. I don't know.
It's hard for me to see the whole picture, but yeah, with the desk, it's hard to see because the part of the girl's bedroom was this might have been the one closer to the hallway because where they actually were, it wasn't as bad as you would think. Galen's room was destroyed.
I wonder
pretty well downstairs, but I can't really tell.
I can't either. And I got these off of the Flora Fire site. Now this is the downstairs.
Yeah,
I guess this is where she couldn't go up, right?
Yeah. So to the left here, I don't know if that was that. Yeah, that would be the up. That would have to be. So to the left there, you went into the living room, and if you could see like that door, that's Galen's bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually Galen. If that, yeah, or that's the couch. I can't tell if that's the couch or not. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that picture is. And then you go to the right where the kitchen was at, and the back through the kitchen and the mudroom area is where the fire started. As you could see, a lot of it burnt, a lot of damage. Some of it's, if you look at like the top middle on the right hand side, you could see where the plaster or the lath is burnt through.
Yeah.
That fire was burning insanely hot right there. If you look underneath it, where the wood is still kind of unburnt, that was firemen pulling that apart to hit hot spots. But that has to get really, really hot to burn all the way through that old plaster and lath because that really holds the fire at bay more than drywall does. So I can't imagine how hot that was. Wow, that was cooking right there.
Wow. See, it's so interesting to listen to you because you're able to give us so much information. Now, this is from the back of the house. This is the mud room, I'm assuming. Am I right? Where the
The mud room would kind of, we're like sitting on top of it, I think. The mud room is almost like it's attached to the house, but it's almost like a separate room. So if you looked at the bottom right hand corner of this picture and you were able to back out of this picture, it would kind of be down there because you can actually see where it burned like up through. I don't know if you have another picture or Meow has it, or if we don't have it, the viewers definitely could be able to find it. Look up, go to that Flora website.
is that is okay. So this we're looking at
the second floor apartment door is to the left. If you look, you could tell that's like a regular, like a front door. So this is the side of the house, and that's the fire escape or whatever they want to call it, going down to the right there. And the windows going up there would be I'm trying to see how that's pictured. So if you look to the right of this, the mudroom would be down on the first level, almost exactly to the right of this. It sat on the first floor. Mudroom, they call it a mudroom. I'd call it a utility room here in Pennsylvania, as opposed to a mudroom where they kept, supplies or whatever. And supposedly only the owners had access, but it was later admitted by a lot of people that if you opened that door a certain way, it didn't lock right. You were able to like push it open.
Right. I think I heard Galen say like it was always
Galen
unlocked.
actually, yes, you're right. She did. She confirmed that too. Yep.
Okay, and this window that we're looking at in this side of the building, that is a window or something to the girls' room, or is that the other side?
I think, man, it's really hard to tell. I think that's actually, I think that's another apartment. And I think that they broke those windows there. That doesn't look like the fire didn't burn through any of the, I don't know if that's asbestos siding there because it's turning that color. They did a little.
It is asbestos.
Is that what? That'll discolor like that sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was in, and that's why I was looking to see if we could see anything from here, but we can't.
I actually think that one on the right would have been their apartment. Because that would be to the one, see how the window's not broken on the right? That was the apartment where the smoke detectors worked. They had smoke detectors, and that's what woke them up. That's what woke the residents up, they said, was the smoke detectors. So it saved their lives. That's another thing you add to this is the smoke detectors. Guys, if you don't have them in your house, I stress to you, we put them up for free in McKeesport here because we have so many fires. We get them from the Red Cross, but you do not wake up, you go further to sleep. You've got to have a smoke detector. Every floor of your house, every floor, please. CO detectors where you sleep at least. Smoke detectors every floor.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I'm trying to find some of this. Yes, and you're right. I don't even need to check my smoke detectors now that I'm thinking about it. Oh my gosh.
Check your batteries when you change the clocks. That's what we tell people. So it's twice a year when you change the clocks, forward or fall back. Check them then. But the new ones you buy, like I said, they have 7 to 10 year batteries. You can't even get to the batteries. They're self-encapsulated. So you just throw them away and buy a new one after 7 years. The upstairs apartment wasn't damaged hardly at all. Some smoke damage, a little bit of fire damage, and some water damage from the firefighting, but hardly anything, Hoosier. Yep.
Here's just I'm gonna throw this out here. Well, I hope YouTube doesn't. Y'all can comment on this. We've got about 10 minutes left. Geez, this time went so fast, Coach. If y'all want to hear some more from him, I mean, we kind of just scratched the surface of the Flora. This is Kelly. I don't know. Does anybody know?
Can't confirm that, Kelly, but I would say keep digging there because if you talk to locals and you bring up that location, that's talked about extensively from people. So I can't say that for sure, but keep going, keep doing your, maybe you find something you could tell me, something's up with that place. I'll tell you that. I don't care who gets mad at me for saying it. It is what it is.
It is. And I'll tell you what, when I was doing a show, it's been a couple weeks ago, I was looking at fires. We were talking about that. Actually, I'd like to have you back and talk about another fire subject, and we can finish Flora too. But I found an interesting fire that was across the street from Galen's house. It was actually an office. I'm not going to say it here, but it was the home, the professional person that had that office, their house burned, and the wife and children burnt up. The father did not. And I was literally just I was looking at how many fires happen in that area. It, like, within that block, it's,
In that block, how many fires
yes.
happened? Like
But
that area is special to somebody or something,
exactly.
or
And
bizarrely special.
right. But when I was looking, I was just reading the newspaper report, and of this other fire that was belonged to someone else whose name I'm not going to say. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, what the heck? What the heck? This doesn't make any sense. I'm thinking, why aren't people investigating this? They said it was lightning. I'm saying, I'm saying, so that would be a very interesting thing to look at
Lightning
as well.
happened. I've seen two house fires in my career where houses were struck by lightning. That's 2 in 22 years, and I believe me, I'm not bragging in any way, shape, or form. I don't know how many fires I've been in, but it's very rare. But how do you explain all the other fires right on literally on that block? Like it's and then you have the pizza place called Fire Pizza.
Yeah, interesting name, right?
I would name the if I was the pizza owner, I would name the place. I can't what do they say? Feeling the temperature of the room or whatever, or I can't feel the temperature of the room. You know how they say just comments you shouldn't make, in a
Yeah,
certain room of people. That's what
yeah,
I'd call the pizza place. The worst name I ever could think of in this area, pizza. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. To me, that's yeah.
No way.
But no, this supposed lightning fire, they couldn't prove that it was lightning, but the
Oh,
fire department.
really?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
couldn't prove it.
This is what it had to be lightning
Listen,
because
I've been to two, and it was years ago. Even one was like 2008. The National Weather Service was able to confirm the lightning strike on the house. We checked that out. We got the word the next day. They needed it for their insurance, but we needed it for our fire reports. They can tell you if lightning hit that house the next day. The National Weather Service can. So there ain't
well,
no questionable lightning. Like, either it is or it isn't, unless they
well,
didn't ask.
here is the situation. The fire department did respond in a timely manner, unlike Galen's house. And by the time they got there, the house was just consumed.
That
Like,
ain't
it
like
just went up. Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying. That
lightning.
ain't
Because
lightning.
lightning usually stacks your vent pipe for your bathroom. You have a metal vent pipe for your bathroom. Both of the situations I saw, lightning struck the house, and it was they struck the pipe. One caught on fire, and one kind of blew a bunch of like bricks off the side of it. But no, it does not. The house does not go up from lightning
Thank
quickly
you.
like that. No, absolutely not. It just doesn't, unless it strikes a house full of gasoline or something crazy. No, that's just not how it works. It hits and it takes a while. It takes a few minutes even. They'll smell it and like, we don't know where it's coming from, you know what I mean? And then boom, the fire pops out of somewhere.
Yeah, that was a whole nother case, and I thought maybe somebody would mention it. I did it in a live before, and I read it out, and I'm like, that's sketchy as
Mm.
heck. But
Stephanie Thompson, the former investigator that did some of the Delphi lie detectors, her and her daughter, and that it
yeah,
couldn't determine a cause because it was so hot. Fires don't naturally get that hot in a house, you know what I mean? From like electrical,
right.
something's, I don't know, in my opinion, something's feeding that.
Well, that it was this other case, which was, I think, in 2014.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
it was
right
a
around.
very
Yeah.
similar Stephanie Thompson
Yes,
sort
yes.
of thing.
Someone's
So
away, and yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's very sketchy stuff going on in Carroll
If
County.
you ever talk to Meow has a lot of good information on all that stuff too, and stats and how the mortality or the rate of I don't know how I should say it on here, but the rate of juveniles perishing in fires is like 400% above the national average in Carroll County.
Yes,
Several
yes,
100%. Don't quote me on the 400, but several. It's insane.
it
That's
is.
great. To me, that's number one issue. Like in Carroll County, like, hold on.
Yeah,
This should not be happening in this day and time. It happens, unfortunately, but this many, we can do better. These are all preventable. All
yeah.
preventable. We could have prevented these, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that was on a live a couple of weeks ago, and we touched on that. Yeah, I what do you think? And this is something that I was researching, and I mean, just like they say, I'm a nurse. Um, there's a lot of criminal nurses as well. Okay, uh, but it's funny when I started researching fires and firemen, there is a huge number of firemen who set fires for the hero
Here
aspect.
complex, yeah, yeah.
And I
Uh,
mean,
it happens. It happens more so, and again, not knocking volunteers, but it happens a lot more in volunteer areas, and you'll see it happen in a place that maybe doesn't have that many fires, or maybe they have a ton of fires. Because if you don't have a ton of fires, you want to light a fire and you want to have some action. If you have a ton of fires and you're in the lighting fires, now what's one more fire? I could easily sneak this in. Guys ain't gonna know it. We had arsonists from a neighboring fire department that we still call in a volunteer department. They were teenagers. They lit a house on. They would light the house on fire, ride their bikes back down the street to the fire station, get there for the call. It was about a 15-minute bike ride. By the time the fire broke out, it was in abandoned buildings and neighborhoods with not a lot of people. So it gave them 20 minutes to get back. Here, one of their guys broke their ankle at the fire. They ended up getting arrested for it. They gave it up, and they were under 18, so they got like slap on the wrist or whatever. But that actually happened to us with a neighboring fire department. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Look, I've put up. Thank you so much, Jinx, for
Yeah.
putting
Thank
that
you,
link
Jim.
up,
But
y'all.
you're right. There's a
Please.
lot of firemen that are sick like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it goes along. Like I said, nursing is not perfect either.
Yeah.
I'd love to do another show and research all the fires that have happened in Flora and in Carroll
Yeah.
County. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
If you ever want me, or you can get me Al, because she has all the data. She sent me. I found some stuff on the side, but she sent me so much stuff to go through. And like I said, the shirts. We
Yeah,
got the t-shirts now for the girls' headstones and their t-shirts for the summer. I know I got one for me and one for my girlfriend. I'm looking forward to it, and doing good things. And check Galen out too. She's awesome. I mean, you talk to her, and
yes.
you could just tell, like, yeah, that's mom. That's a mom right
Yes. Yes. I don't want us to cut off before I say
there.
please, please, please subscribe to Coach Kev. This has been a great conversation. My gosh, I think we could go much longer and talk about
Yeah,
the fire. So I think that we should have a follow up on this and in Carroll County. Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, meow Meow Zedong, if y'all don't subscribe to her, please
yeah, definitely.
subscribe to Meow too. She's awesome. And she has a lot of this. We're going to turn into a pumpkin in about 60 seconds. So, is there anything that you want to leave us with? Thank you so, so much, Coach Kev, for coming on here.
I
It's been great.
I thank you for having me on. Thank you for the great questions. I'll try to go back after this and answer some questions because I wasn't able to see him here. But thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. People, spread the word for Flora. If you're not going to
Yes.
follow me out. And Southern Tea. I mean, we got it going on. We have a good team together, and this
We
case got
do.
legs, folks. It's moving. I'm telling you, it's moving.
And the more we talk and the more we bring it to public attention.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, we've got 15 seconds. So thank you, Coach Kev. Y'all all be careful. Firework safety this weekend and this week, okay? Love you all. Thank you for being here. Stay safe, stay silky, and we're going to do this again with Coach Kev. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe, y'all. We've got to get him up to 1,000. Subscribe to Coach Kev. Thank you so, so
Thank
much.
you.
All righty.